And I got a message from this person. I'm like, oh no, they're like, hey, just got the item, box is all messed up. And I'm like, oh no, like, where's this going?
Yo, welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. We've got a special YouTube video for you today. It's going to be legit. So if you're just joining us, I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando.
That's right. And we've got a special video today because we are going to be talking about some crazy cool stimmy sales we've been getting.
Stimmies. That word is trending.
Is it?
It's been trending for 2 weeks. Now, here's the thing. You came to this with way more energy, and I need to catch up with your energy. And I think the stimulus has energized you.
See,
and sales.
I'm looking at your sales right now, and you should be the one energized. So I've got weird sales. So what we're probably going to do with this is Orlando's got the big home run sales that you can tell are definitely stimulus sales. And I've got some sales where it's like, all right, these are things that you'd expect to sit around forever and you're going to sell for like half price. And they're like one-off random items. And all of a sudden they're selling for full price. And they might not be huge sales, but it's like, somebody got their stimulus and they're like, hey, that's kind of cool. I want it. So we're going to be talking about our stimulus sales. But what we want you to do right now in the chat, let us know what has been your stimulus sale. What has been the thing or things that you sold that you're like, this is definitely a stimulus sale, for a fact, because who buys this stuff at these prices right now? So put that in the chat. And while you're doing that, make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that like button. We've been noticing that, we're getting a lot of views and not as many people interacting. So make sure to like, make sure to comment. Definitely helps us in the algorithm. And if you're a reseller, you know how important algorithms are. So like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, let's talk about these crazy home run sales.
All right. Now, I do want to remind everyone that even though these are stimulus sales, these are things that still sell for good money. Yeah. Stimulus or no stimulus. But the stimulus definitely helped for all these things to sell within about a week and a half.
Yeah, and it's not too late. So the reason we're sharing this stuff now is because now's the time to be listing because these sales are crazy cool.
All right. So first of all, I love this sale because it was one of those things where you walked into a thrift store and you see something and you're like, I wonder, right? So I picked up one of those Motorola brick phones. You remember those from the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that was like baller status. And I shared this on Instagram, but I wanted to share it again because I thought it was so cool. So I picked it up and it was $399. So I'm like, I wonder if even if it's not working, if it will sell well. And so I did some research and I noticed that there were no listed, but there were plenty of comps. And so the comps were, 40, 50, 60 for parts not working. So if you see in the picture here, right, it's pretty sweet phone. And we didn't use that photo room app and I cleaned it up and it looked really nice. And remember, I picked it for $399 and I listed it for $100 and it went on sale and it sold for $84.99 plus ship.
That's crazy, man. It's amazing how old technology like that can still sell. I just had dinner with some friends the other night. They're a little bit younger than my wife and I. And we were talking about cell phones and technology. And we mentioned pagers and they were too young. They're like, yeah, we never had pagers or beepers. So, but yeah, I mean, older stuff can still sell. Maybe it's for nostalgia. Maybe it's for a movie prop. Who knows? But
it's worth a look up. Worth a look up.
Always check it out. All right. So mine is a pair of Allen Edmonds. Now, Allen Edmonds are always great shoes to buy. And, depending on, you always got to check and make sure they're in good condition. But I picked this pair of Allen Edmonds up for $4 and I wasn't really expecting to see a lot of dress shoes selling during the COVID time. So many people are at home, but these are nice shoes. And, some people are still in the office. Some people are anticipating going back to offices. And these sold for, $58.99. And this isn't like one of my biggest Allen Edmonds sales for sure. I've had several well over 100, but don't be afraid to be listing dress shoes, the nicer ones right now, because again, people, they're getting stimulus. Maybe they're going to be going back into the office. They want to get their wardrobe on point. And so hiring clothing is going to start selling again. And when people have this extra cash, and then the other thing to consider, this kind of sparked my mind is some people put on a little bit of weight over the time in quarantine. And so they might be getting whole new wardrobes and a lot of people don't want to buy new. So, business attire is probably going to do really well right now. This was a decent stimulus sale for me.
All right, nice. No, Alan Edmonds, the market goes back and forth, but it's always worth a look up. There's some that are $20, and there's some that's $100, even $200 to $300, depending on the style. Okay, so I've talked about this on another What Sold, but I need to bring it back again because these will sell for good money. I want to say pretty much every single time if you can get your hand on a pair of these. So, or hands, right? Because it's a pair. So if you take a look at the picture, it is a pair of Tony Lama Python exotic boots. All right. So these were green. Okay. So even more exotic. And they were a size 10 extra wide. So you would think
that's pretty specific.
Like, is it going to sell? And so I listed it. So I paid $25. I listed it for $200. And it ended up going on sale, and somebody bought it within 24 hours for $169.99 plus ship.
Jeez.
That was quick. 10 extra wide within 24 hours.
I haven't really gotten into the exotic market, but I think I need to because a lot of the sales you do, especially the boots, they're snake skin, they're alligator skin, they're alien skin, whatever it is you're getting,
lizard,
right? Yeah, you're into some of those exotic, and they do well. I guess I need to learn that market to know what's real, what's authentic, what's good quality. But yeah, there's definitely a market for that, and so.
Well, here's the one tip though. Even though you may not know, you might do research. You're like, I don't know if it's python or snake or lizard, whatever it is. The people that are looking for it know. So, for example, I just sold a pair of Nakona boots that were, I put snakeskin, and the guy's like, those are some really awesome lizard boots. Would you be willing to work with me? Right. So he knew what they were. I accidentally listed it. I still sold them for $150. Not part of our What Sold for this time, but again, another legit sale. And that was in 24 hours too.
Nice.
It's crazy.
Very cool. Yeah. So here's another one for me. So I've talked a lot about RPG books that I've sold. The last What Sold, I mentioned some RPG books. But one of the things that I find interesting is these have been selling relatively consistently for, $10 here, $15 here, which is really good when I bought stacks of them and they averaged about 50 cents each. Now, some of them I could tell were a little bit more. The cost was a little higher. So for instance, this one was a Star Wars classic RPG adventure book. So it's very specific. One, you have to have the game from like 20 years ago. And two, you'd want to have these specific adventures. So it's a very small group of people who'd want this book. And the book I ended up selling for $37.99. So I paid 50 cents for it. I sold it for about $38. And this is one of the things that I can't imagine somebody buying this book if it wasn't for the stimulus. Now, some of them sell $10, $15, $20, but the ones that are $40, $50, $60, which I've had several of those recently, these are selling, I would say, because somebody's into the game and now they've got an extra, whatever it is, $1,400 sitting around. They're like, yeah, I want that. So if you've got those things, don't be afraid to list them and don't be afraid to look for them, because I would say this probably would sit for another 2 or 3 years, but because of the stimulus, it probably sold. So, I'm not going to complain about that.
We probably have another good week of those sales.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
That's my anticipation. All right. So this was one that I want to say thank you to the reselling community. I always talk about on our podcast that it's better to be in community than competition. Competition is good. It's great. We need competition. But the amount of knowledge that Mike and I have gained from being in the reselling community, it's just astounding. And it's been very profitable. And so I was at the store that shall not be named. And at this thrift store, there was a set of those Rock Band drums, just the drums and the stand. That's it. It was in the corner and it was for $14.99. So I looked it up and all I did is type in Xbox Rock Band drums. So if you take a look at the picture, we'll show the picture right here. And you really have to know the difference. And the way you know the difference is if you turn it around and they're made by Harmonix, and they'll tell you right there if it's Xbox One, Xbox 360, whatever console it works with. And so somebody hit me up in the DMs on Instagram when I made an Instagram story about this and said, actually, Orlando, what you have is Xbox One drums. Those go for about $300 with the pedal. And I was like, oh, with the pedal, I didn't get a pedal. And then I went on eBay and I looked for a pedal, and the pedals were like $24 to $30. So
nice. I
bought the lowest price one, paid $24, and I put it together, right? And again, this stuff usually works. Like you can test it out. I didn't test this one because it looked all good to me. I put the batteries in, everything works fine. Listed it Posted it at the highest price, I think, at that time at $299.99 plus shipping on top of that. A lot of people were doing free shipping, but this cost about $50 to ship, and listed it and sold in less than 12 hours for that price.
Nice.
So yeah, it's crazy. Now that could have been similar, so that could have just been somebody was looking for it.
Yeah, and I love that tip of completing a set by buying one or two parts, right? Sometimes it's really useful, even if you sometimes see things at a garage sale or thrift store and there's like 2 or 3 of something and each one has got a little bit broken, and you can kind of put them all together and you have one working thing, right? So don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to buy a remote off of eBay for a DVD player, VHS DVD combo.
As long as you take care of it.
Right, for sure. So that is a great point. So this one was one that I posted on Instagram, and I'm kind of, now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder maybe I could have got more for, but I still thought it was good. So we don't usually do lots of mugs. We do mugs occasionally. Mug life. But I feel like we need to have like some Mug Life music play right there.
Gary V pop up or something.
Boom. So I did this Star Trek mug, and I paid 50 cents for this mug at a garage sale. Gosh, it was a long time ago. And I got to thinking this would be cool to just use myself if I don't end up selling it as an old school Star Trek mug. And right before it sold, like I'd say 2 or 3 days before this mug sold, somebody messaged me and said, hey, does this mug, do the people disappear or does a beam come down or whatever when there's hot water in it?
That's cool.
And I'm like, oh, I don't know. But I didn't have a chance to test it and go to my office and get some hot water and put it in there before it sold at full price, and it sold for $24. And I'm like, I wonder if it did do that. That would have been even cooler. Cause there's 3 people sitting on there and they're like, do they all get beamed up? When you put the hot water in there, does they get beamed up, Scotty? So I don't know. It might have been a cooler mug than I realized. But honestly, who's buying a mug for $24 unless 1, they're a collector, like a hardcore collector, or 2, they're into it and I got a lot of extra money right now. So why not?
Yeah. No, hey, mugs still sell. You just got to be very particular about what you pick up. So
for sure.
All right. So we're going to end on this one. This one, I am happy to report. I'm happy that it arrived safely. Okay. Now,
it's looking like a big one.
Now, by the way, that Rock Band thing, I packed it and I sent it out. And, the whole time we're like, please make everything be good. And when I got the positive feedback, I was like, yes.
Yeah. It's like breath of fresh air.
This was even scarier. So this was about a year and a half ago, right before COVID hit. I went to the House of Mouse, I call it. It was an estate sale, and it literally was Disney everywhere. Everywhere. No joke. One room, probably 50 to 80 plush dolls. Okay. Another room was all different kind of Disney VHS. Another room was Steamboat Willie themed. Another room was, it was just every single room had Disney. And when I showed up, I was like, maybe I'll buy out as much as I can. And I said, hey, would you be willing to sell all the plush in this house for me? And they're like, oh, somebody already bought it. So this guy showed up. He had 3 truckloads of plush that he bought, from this house. So I went around and literally everybody was grabbing. No one's on their phones. They're just grabbing everything they can from this estate sale. So I went for the most expensive item at the estate sale. I think it was the most expensive item. So in the corner, nobody's touching it. There's this Disney monorail model. So have you been to Disneyland? Have you been on the monorail?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Of course.
And so, I was sitting there and I'm like, I wonder, if this is worth anything. And so I look it up and there's comps $600, $800. I'm like, wow, why is no one looking at this? Well, I looked at the price tag and they wanted $400. I'm like, oh, great. So I went over to the person running the estate sale. I'm like, hey, are you willing to work with me on this? He's like, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. And so started talking and I got him down to 200. Right. But then I forgot you should always bundle. So I grabbed a bunch of other stuff. And for example, let me give you an example of what I grabbed. I grabbed a bunch of Mickey Mouse John Deere collaboration figurines. And I sold all of those for $300 within a week of buying those. So when I finally made the deal with the guy, I bought everything for $300. So if you were to do average cost for everything that I bought at that estate sale, I paid $30 for the monorail.
Nice.
Right? If you did average cost, meaning that, you divide it up with everything that you... So already I made all my money. Within a couple weeks, I sold all those John Deere Mickey Mouse items and everything was profit. After that, I sold like some random Mickey crochet kit, another, Mickey item here, my Mickey item there, all kinds of stuff. Well, this monorail, I wanted to sit on it because it was a collectible and it was worth a lot of money. And, the one thing I was worried about wasn't powering on. And I figured out the batteries were old. There's like these 2-cell batteries that are supposed to go on there. So, I jumped into Amazon, I ordered those batteries, I got them, and I tested it. Sure enough, it worked. And so I listed it high. I listed it at, I believe, $1,000 just for kicks. Now, you always have to go with what the market dictates, right? I wanted 1,000, but it wasn't worth 1,000. I was hoping for it. So that day, since it was so valuable, I wrapped it up like crazy. I put it all together and I just let it sit. And so when it would sell, I could easily pack it. Well, sure enough, somebody approached me during the week as a stimulus drop and said, hey, listen, I just saw one of these, a blue one that was new in box with manual. Mine didn't have any of that. And no manual, no box. It was just a monorail on the stand. No batteries either. And they asked me, would you be willing to sell it for $550 free ship? I'm like, oh no. Like, it always bothers me when you're selling a high-end item and somebody's haggling you over the shipping.
Right.
So I said, hey, listen, this is probably going to cost me more to ship than I'm charging you. So I need to charge shipping. They're like, they messaged me back. They're like, hey, how about we split the difference on the shipping? I'm like, what? I was only charging $13 for the shipping. And I said, listen.
It's the principle of the thing for some people.
I guess so. So I said, I'm sorry, but I need to charge shipping. I understand if you can't buy, because there's a part of me that knew that this person was going to buy. So I'm like, if you can't buy right now, no worries, hit me up, in a couple of weeks and we can talk again. And then sure enough, cha-ching, sold, paid for. And then they said, hey, make sure you pack it carefully. I'll let you know when it arrives. So I packed that bad boy. I did the whole, you bubble wrap and then cardboard, and then I floated the box.
And I'm sure you used American Bubble Boy, right?
I did, American Bubble Boy. So
link
check
is down in the description.
Great deal.
Super great deal.
All right, now, here's the thing. If you watch I combined our Mug Life video and our Float the Box video to package this. So bubble wrap, cardboard, floated that within 2 boxes, and I sent it out, and I got a message from this person. I'm like, oh no. They're like, hey, just got the item. Box is all messed up. And I'm like, oh no, like, where's this going? But due to your amazing packing, it arrived safely. I am so happy. I'm leaving you positive feedback. Thank you so much. And sure enough, I was happy to make that $500 plus shipping sale. And that was a highlight of my stimulus week.
Yeah.
And so, hey, hopefully all of you are getting some great sales during the stimulus time. If you haven't been listening, you got those death piles or you got those items that are super expensive, maybe run a sale, promoted listings, do whatever you can to get those sales happening. And with that being said, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling. Great. Peace.